Belvoir Castle was a Crusader fortress and now a national park. About 1,000 years ago, the Seljuks, originally from Turkey, conquered the country from the Arabs, expelled the Christians, and did not allow them to enter the Church of the Nativity. The Crusaders were European Christians, believing in the sanctity of the land of Israel. The Pope encouraged them to take over the country. The First Crusade was about 900 years ago and most of its fighters were French. They conquered the land from the Seljuks and the Egyptians, and established the Kingdom of Jerusalem. On their way, they massacred Muslims and Jews, leaving the villagers to cultivate the land and support them. Apart from their religious purpose, the Crusaders divided the land among themselves and enslaved the inhabitants, which led to many alliances and conflicts among themselves, over the distribution of loot. 40 years later, in order to please the nobles, an area was given to the Belvoir family, who were French from Tiberias. They chose a strategic place, on the mountain, overlooking the Jordan Valley and the passages to the east. They built a farm with a wall, on the remains of a Jewish settlement from the time of the Talmud called Kachav. The Hospitallers started as a Christian organization, providing medical services to Christian pilgrims, became a military force. They bought the farm from the Belvoir family and built a fortress called Belvoir. They built a magnificent and strong fortress. The uniqueness of this fortress is that it is built as a fortress within a fortress. So if the enemy occupies the outer fortress, one still has to occupy the inner fortress. About 20 years later, Salah ad-Din conquered the land from the Crusaders. Belvoir was conquered only after a siege of 2 years. The upper floors were destroyed. 50 years later the Crusaders returned, but did not renew the fort. Less than 200 years ago, Bedouins settled in the place of Ka'kab al-Hawa. During the War of Independence, a Golani force occupied the place after a battle with Iraqi forces. Beneath the mountain, in the Jordan Valley, in a fertile and water-saturated area, there have been many small settlements throughout history. After the establishment of the state, Kibbutz Neve Yair was established, which was heavily bombed during the War of Attrition.